It all started when we first arrived in Dubai many years ago, and my parents were in financial trouble, and they needed a loan. And I went to the bank looking for just enough money to help them out, and ended up being bamboozled by the really nice sales consultant who actually pointed out that it would cost me less to borrow the full amount. And I walked out of there after about 15 minutes with a whopping 250,000 dirham loan. We're going back now to the early 2000s. And then it just sort of spiraled. You know, I hadn't told my partner that I'd borrowed the money, and you know, once I had a loan with the bank, then came the credit cards. They seemed to, you know, just want to throw more and more debt at you, and I started struggling to pay back and to, you know, keep it a secret essentially, because I didn't want my partner to know that I'd lent this money to my parents. It became, you know, really easy to approach another bank and get another loan, and you know, so it's gone on for the last 11 years until I found myself in the position that I'm in now. In total, we're talking at around 800,000 dirhams at this point in time. That's made up of 3 personal loans and 6 credit cards. You know, a lot of the money went on juggling my finances, and the deeper I got in, you know, the more debt I got into, and the more I actually tried to cover it up that I didn't have debt, the more money I needed to actually, you know, balance the books, so to speak. I essentially fooled myself. I fooled myself into thinking that I could get myself out of the situation that I was in. And I realized probably at the beginning of this year that, you know, there was no way I was ever going to be able to make things right. I had checks bouncing left, right, and center. I was in arrears on all my payments. I was, you know, receiving umpteen phone calls a day from the banks chasing me for money. And I was really, at that point, trying to just keep my head above the water, trying to carry on paying my share into the pot at home. I still hadn't told my partner, and I was determined that I wasn't going to. And, you know, my life just became an absolute nightmare. I was just, you know, lurching from one crisis to the other, trying to beg, steal, and borrow money from everywhere. I was being so badly threatened by the collections departments of the various banks that I was absolutely terrified that I was going to land up in jail. And I knew that if I landed up in jail, they would throw away the key, because you know, there was no way that I was ever going to be able to get the money together to actually, you know, get myself out of jail. I've learned, or, you know, started learning, that there is absolutely no assistance out there for people like me from the banks. The only thing that they're concerned about is getting their money back, and that's it. And they don't care how they get it. I've reached an agreement with one bank, which surprised me quite a bit. But with the others, they continue to threaten police cases, jail, pay. That they all say exactly the same thing: pay your arrears and then we'll talk. They're not prepared to talk while there's still arrears in the balance. They're not prepared to look at rescheduling. It just seems to be that you get, no matter how honest and how open you are with the banks, they don't seem to want to listen. They don't seem to want to hear, because they know that ultimately at the end of the day, they hold the trump cards. The biggest crisis was a couple of weeks ago, my partner finding out about what had been going on, and you know, it's cost me, ultimately, at the end of the day, it's cost me my relationship, which is very, very sad. And I would, you know, I think if I had the choice and I could turn back the clock, I would never, ever have signed on the dotted line all those years ago.